everybody. Welcome to Idiotalk, a Radiohead podcast. I am Walker Glenn.
And I'm Zach Glenn.
And this week, we are not a Radiohead podcast, but we are a... Let me take
What's it
that
called?
again. This week, we are not a Radiohead podcast, but a Radiohead side podcast, side projecast.
Ooh, I like that.
Do you see what I'm trying to get at, Zach? Very clumsily.
I smell what you're stepping in.
You're smelling what the wok is cooking?
Ooh, the wok. Yeah, I forgot.
I woke up with a little bit of a sore throat and a little bit congested today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I took some cold medicine, and I feel slightly as if I'm floating out of my body as we record this. So this may be more of a struggle than usual today, listeners, for me to achieve some kind of coherence. So, and also, if you think that I have been inarticulate or struggled to land my points or anecdotes in other episodes, let's just say I also took cold medicine before those recording sessions as well.
And just to add on to that, the episode will have been released by now, but as the listeners know, we recorded yesterday, February 22nd.
Yeah.
Because it was the 30th anniversary. So it's not typical. There have been some sessions. I'm not going to tell you folks which ones because I think that we knocked it out the park. But there have been some sessions in which we've recorded 2 episodes in a day. So weirdly, even though I'm already, like I said, I feel loose, we got our juices flowing. It's not typical for us to record 2 episodes 2 days in a row.
No, yeah. So we're really working our mic holding fingers to the bone for you listeners. But Zach, I still have not even said though what we are talking about today, which is the side project, Atoms for Peace, the Tom York led side project, and their one and heretofore only album, 2013's Amok. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but I know that you had something that has nothing to do with any of that you told me you wanted to share with me, and I have been looking forward to. And that is as truthful of a setup as I can provide, because I really don't know any of the specifics about this.
Well, if you would like to follow along and we won't be putting this on our Instagram, but Walker, if you would like to follow along, I did email you it is I'm going to read to you. Now, I appreciate the setup of saying that it has nothing to do with anything. It does tangentially connect to previous episodes. So listeners will remember in our King of Limbs Part 2 episode, Walker made what I think was just the most hilarious off-the-cuff Blade Runner reference. Listeners, please go listen to that episode. But basically, we talked about the oh my God, I love this movie, and I can't remember what the test is.
The Turing test?
The Turing test is
Turing.
That's it's what it's derived from. But we'll take a pause here because I need to know what it's called.
Isn't it called the Turing test?
No, the Turing test is from Alan Turing. The idea that when AI becomes sentient, that's what the Turing test is, and it's based upon that. But there's a name in it. It's the void comp test. So the void comp test was invoked in our King of Limbs Part 2 episode. Listeners, go listen to that episode. But that is the test, similar to the Turing test, done in the film Blade Runner, the first one. That Harrison Ford's character Deckard performs on replicants to determine if they are in fact humans or not. And I think Blade Runner also came up in our in Rainbow's Part 3 episode.
Oh, did it?
And then, I asked you what are the odds or chances that I could ever get you to give the second one a go, and you said, well, not 0, but unlikely. And to paraphrase, and then going way back to our 7th episode. No, I'm sorry, our Batman Returns episode. That was our 15th episode, I want to say.
Oh,
13th,
sure.
13th episode. I talked about how actor Sean Young was cast to play Vicky Vale in 1989's Batman, and she wanted to play Catwoman. She showed up to producer John Peters' office dressed as Catwoman, and he said, no, thank you. And they cast Michelle Pfeiffer.
And that is a long walk home when you are
yes.
dismissed in full Catwoman garb.
I know. So anyway, so the Blade Runner franchise is a movie franchise and a book series that I adore. And that's not to say, listeners, that I'm not aware of some of the problematic elements, some of the dated elements in the 1982 film and from the original author. But it is really something that has spoken to me for many, many years. All that to say, I've shared this with another friend. I've never shared it with Walker. I don't know what the impetus for this was, but I was looking through my phone, the Yelp application on my phone, and I was like, "Who leaves Yelp reviews?" And then just something sparked in my brain of, "Wait a second, I know I've written a Yelp review." And I brought up Blade Runner for a reason because it ties into my Yelp review. So I'm just going to go ahead with that overly long setup.
Okay.
I am going to go ahead and read this Yelp review, and I'm not going to say the business's name. Walker,
okay, I'm looking at anything
before I go.
Well, no, I just I'm looking at the top here, and the first thing I see is from the screenshot you sent me is that this is a 1-star review, and that it was written over 5 years ago. Can you kind of attempt to place this in a time and place in your life?
Oh, yeah. It says over 5 years ago on the app, but I can see the precise date. It was May 23rd of 2017. So just also to give my Blade Runner cred some legitimacy, listeners will remember that the sequel came out in October of 2017. I can't remember the exact date. I think it was October 5th. So this is, I didn't, decide.
Are you living
I
in
loved
the Bay
Blade Runner.
Area at this time?
No, this is Sacramento.
Okay.
And I'm just going to go ahead and read it, and then we can kind of throw in some critiques as we go. So here we go. Again, not going to say the business name. Okay. Typically, I am not one to Yelp, as I feel most of the reviewers are typically.
Okay, I need you to stop right there. I'm following along. Already. This is amazing because you guys might have heard in Zach's voice that he put air quotes around Yelp, but it is in quotes in the review, which I love too. Like, because you sound like when like a 80-year-old got on Twitter for the first time in like 2011 and sends out something like, "Here's my first tweet," like in quotes or something. Like, I like it because you're testing. You're like, typically I am not one to Yelp, but you're like, and I'm emphasizing that I'm not one as I'm putting a little bit of condescending sauce on the verb of Yelp. So
Walker,
there's an implied, if that's what you call it, around the word.
Yeah,
Yelp.
You want to talk condescension, just get ready. Okay, so I'm gonna start from the top again, but I loved that commentary. Typically, I am not one to Yelp, as I feel most of the reviewers are typically disgruntled, angry people who have nothing better to do other than make their best effort to destroy a business's reputation. Now, I'm going to interject right there and say, Zach, find a synonym for typically. It's not good to
twice
use
in one sentence.
Twice in one run-on sentence, I might add.
He likes the word typically, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I was looking at this and I'm like, why not say typically I'm not one to Yelp, as I feel most of the reviewers are generally or usually, but, I digress.
Can I say something else too? I want to say that so far, double use of the word typically aside, Zach of 2017, I am in strong agreement with everything that he has said so far. I have a big problem with you. Yeah, I don't like Yelp. I feel that Yelp reviews can leave people kind of guilty until proven innocent, because somebody who you have no idea what they were bringing to the interaction or how entitled they may be can just go online and potentially slander a business.
Absolutely. And I could not agree with you more. And I really do agree. And I think that I'm glad that you feel that way, because I think by the time this review is over, you'll well, let me just keep going. So
already you're like, I don't really support this method of bringing down a business, but something has happened that has made 2017 Zach have to lower himself into the muckraking mud with the quote unquote Yelpers and say something.
Exactly.
You can't stand aside anymore.
No, because customer service is a largely subjective thing. Now, I would say generally folks agree, at least in the States. I actually am proud to say that I know that we have a lot of listeners not in the US. And I know that customer service, there's a variance country to country. Okay, I'll at least just say that much.
There's a culture.
But it is largely subjective, and I am somebody who tries to shop small businesses first, whether it's in food, whether it's in books I buy, whatever. Not always, but I really want to just strongly echo what you said. I want you to interject at any point you want to, but I'm just going to start over one more time because we only got through the first sentence.
I will try not to stop you every sentence.
I love it.
But
I love it. I just want listeners to track.
Setting up what we're setting up here.
I welcome it. I love it, dude. So typically, I'm not one to Yelp, as I feel most of the reviewers are typically disgruntled, angry people who have nothing better to do other than make their best effort to destroy a business's reputation. I will say no spelling errors. Good job, Zach. So yes, this is my first review. 4 of us chose to try insert business name, and the food was somewhat bland, but very well crafted, and the presentation was wonderful. They were having some point of sale issues, which slowed the ordering process, but ultimately was not
warming them up, buttering them up with a compliment.
Dude, I can't. Let me get there. Okay, starting the previous sentence. They were having some point of sale issues, which slowed the ordering process, but ultimately was not the staff's fault at all. Let's face it, Micros is a problematic system. However, the staff's
Let's face it, folks. Hey, can we as a society need to have a conversation about Micros being a problematic system? Zach is in 2017. Zach is using Gen Z language to try to cancel Micros. Micros is in a problematic age gap relationship, folks. Okay, sorry.
No. I don't want you to apologize for interrupting. I need time to breathe and face my demons. Let's face it, Micros is a problematic system. However, the staff's rudeness was nothing short of astounding. Our waitress was so rude to my fiance. I know why. Our waitress was so rude to my fiance.
Well, I think it's in quotes because you're being like she's so bad at her job that you can you can't even. She hasn't even earned the title of waitress, which now we say server.
And so man, now how times have changed. You just say server.
Yeah, exactly. So now Zach is about to get canceled.
No, because I will say though, this person's whatever gender they identify as, it seemed very obvious to me that it would be female. That does figure into the Yelp review. Our waitress was so rude to my fiance on so many levels. You would have thought we came in wearing shirts that said "fuck this establishment." Oh God! Not going to name names, but let's just say she vaguely resembled Sean Young, circa 1982 Blade Runner. Everyone deserves a second chance, so give it a try. Just keep in mind, they treat their customers like crap for no good reason. End of review.
Oh my God! Wait a second. And that's the whole review, folks.
Yeah.
Wait.
I know.
Wait, why? Why are you saying that so is this because you want people to be able to go in and figure out who it is, or because you want management to be able to figure out who it is? And did you think that was genuinely a helpful clue that
Yes, that is what made me laugh so hard, and why I thought this episode could work, even though I realized in sequence Blade Runner probably won't have come up for a little while. But
just a couple weeks.
Yeah, but that's what made me laugh so hard is, like I mentioned before, to legitimize my Blade Runner fanship, this was before the sequel, so Blade Runner's always been in the consciousness, but not as much as it would have been like 6 months in the future from this review. And I love
even
that
then,
I'm saying,
Zach, I didn't know Sean Young's name until you told me.
Right.
For Batman Returns. That doesn't mean that it isn't a common reference to other people, but I don't
it's
hear
not
a lot of people
It's
throwing
not
that
a common
name
reference.
around.
That image of her and the way how in that wonderful 1980s style how they would take an image, and it was like before Procreate, but they would draw it in a hyper realistic, not realistic way. It was this weird
for the VHS cover.
Yeah. So that image of her is just the image of her with the cigarette and that iconic haircut. It's a wonderful performance. I just want to say real quickly, in a movie that has some up and down acting. But yes, to your point, that is one of the many things that I found to be so hilarious. Is my intent, and I'm somewhat proud of this, is that I was like, everyone deserves a second chance after a scathing review. I'm like, hey, but give it a try. But I love that I think
give it a try if you dare.
I love that I think I'm tipping management off to, you know who I'm talking about, by referencing an iconic character.
Yes, it would have been more helpful if you'd gone, not to name names, but she looks like the hot replicant lady from Blade Runner, parentheses, not Daryl Hannah. That would, I would know what you're talking about more easily than if you said Sean Young circa 1982 in Blade Runner. Okay.
I know.
So the obvious thing that I have to follow up with here is what happened?
I mean, honestly, dude, I wouldn't take away, this review is hilarious. It sounds like it was written by a drunk professor. Or something. I don't know. No, I don't want to make it sound like anything.
It sounds like it was written by Ignatius Riley from Confederacy of Dunces.
Yes. But no, I mean, I kind of hate it when folks who are engaged to be married, when it's like, there's a joke in a movie about this of constantly needing to introduce people as your fiance.
Right. Don't worry, we won't be living in sin much longer.
Yeah. This is the only evidence that I can find, because as we've covered before, I'm not on social media besides the podcast. I don't know. There's not a lot of written evidence of me being like, my fiance. I remember being weirdly embarrassed to introduce who is now my wife, Kailani, as my fiance for some reason. I don't know why. I can't explain it. So this is the one evidence of me feeling really you don't be rude to my fiance. But no,
sure.
To your question of what happened, they were having some point of sale issues. So taking our order,
the food was somewhat bland, but the presentation, what did you say here? The food was somewhat bland,
wonderful.
But the presentation was wonderful.
I know.
You were delighted by the presentation.
Yes. So there was some business issues.
I've never
in the
heard
form
you
of
say wonderful.
Oh, really?
It's just so funny that you say the presentation was wonderful.
Well, I
picture you holding your plate up, showing it to Kai, showing it to your friends. Look at this wonderful presentation.
Well, we were watching a lot of Gordon Ramsay at this time. I forget. It's one of his
Kitchen
better
Nightmares.
shows. Not Kitchen Nightmares. No, it's a newer
Hell's
one.
Kitchen.
No, it's not that one either.
Top Chef.
No, it'll come to me. But those shows are fun to watch because you just learn so much, not about even in a fine dining setting, but just about how artful cooking is. And Gordon Ramsay shows can be a little bit obnoxious and so forth. But MasterChef, that's the name of the show. MasterChef. Highly recommend it.
Right.
So I think that was kind of on my mind. And I just want to tell listeners too, if you maybe cringing at this negative review, I have worked in the service industry. I did pizza delivery. I have been a waiter at a restaurant. So, I have some level of context. I don't expect a red carpet to be rolled out. But it was the worst.
But Zach is part of the working class.
Yes, absolutely.
This is especially in 2017. Now we're A-list podcasters, but this was not Zach of the 1%. So
no,
sorry, but what the hell happened?
No, shit. I think, let's see here. In 2017, I would have been turning 28 when this review was written. I would have been 27. I have been told, I don't know if this is still true, that I look somewhat young for my age. At least at this time I did. And the two friends that we were with, friend of the show, Keith Bratton, and his lovely wife, we all looked like we were in our late 20s. I don't really care. But it was that thing where I felt like we were given the up down when we walked in. Mm-hmm. And there was an assumption made that the gratuity would be low. Now, I will say, tipping, I am an automatic 20% if the service is oh, that was fine. I wish that we would have gotten our water glasses filled, one more time or something, or the person wasn't. But like, as you said, and I'm talking about in a sit down environment, a lot of the places that I think you and I both like to patronize, I don't know if that's true, but I love that place in Oakland. I don't know if they're still in business, but where it's kind of like you're in their space to order. It's that fried chicken place. They have like lemonade and fried chicken.
Yes,
you know what I'm talking about? I love that kind of environment. But
it's it's very soup Nazi where it's like they're open very limited hours and it's like
the worst hours.
Yes, the worst hours, and their sandwich is so fucking good and they know it, and their attitude is like, you need us more than we need you.
Yes. Yes. And so this place is not that kind of restaurant. And yes, so like I say, and this is not a brag, I think it's having worked in the service industry. I am automatic 20%. And if it's a really good experience and I could tell the person, from what I can judge, put on their game face, then if I can afford it, I will go above that. It's something very, very important to me. Our mother, was a waitress for many years in our grandparents' restaurant. She instilled that value well in us, I would say.
Yes.
And it's something that I'm very grateful that she did. So, but even with that being said, it was unbelievable, Walker. I mean, and my wife can handle herself. That's one of the things I really appreciate about kind of our relationship, is just that it's like she's got it, but every once in a while I don't care how this sounds, instinct takes over, and I'm like, if you talk to her, or it's how only happened maybe once, or sometimes you can't help it. This was one of those moments where I was like, what is your problem? So yes, I mean, what drove me to write this review, I still stand by. The place is still in business. They have 2 locations, and I will say we get food from there often. So this was an isolated incident. But the tenuous connection to Blade Runner, well, not tenuous, the direct connection, but the tenuous connection to stuff we've spoken about in previous episodes is how I thought I could insert it to the conversation, but I was hoping it would make you laugh.
Well, okay. Mission successful, first of all. And I do that. Just
mission successful.
Mission possible.
Go ahead.
I do want to corroborate. Yes, Zach is not some sort of asshole who I've gone out to eat with Zach many, many times. And I just want to corroborate. This is not a person who walks into an establishment looking for you to, please him properly in order for him to complete his part of the transaction and leave a decent tip at all. So I'm sure that whatever you experienced was over the line in terms of negativity. Now, I do want to ask, I am surprised to hear that you have continued to frequent this establishment. Have you seen Sean Young circa 1982 Blade Runner there ever since, or did like when she
did I get her
shit
canned?
Did she walk home in full Catwoman garb, unemployed and crying?
I certainly hope not. I mean, there are a few things that could make me actually want somebody to lose their job, even if they were, rude to me. So I certainly hope that wasn't the case. Although I will say 5 users found this helpful, which also made me feel good, and also made me feel like an 87-year-old. Going back to, I was like, hey, 5 likes, like that's like a big deal. But I mean, I don't know.
It also might be 5 people who had a similar experience with this Sean Young doppelganger.
Yes, exactly. Oh man, not a replicant Sean Young doppelganger. Talk about ironic. My wife was the individual who said, "Hey, I'm hungry, and this thing on their menu looks really good," and kind of had to do some convincing. So she did break the ice. But I mean, like I said, in my own review, I said everyone deserves a second chance. I love that I say everyone deserves a second chance, so give it a try. Not think about it, or I'm like saying like, hey, I had this horrible experience. You go do that.
There's a few things that jump out to me. Yeah,
go ahead, please. I want you to take over.
It is very strangely written. I will just say that. It's like really well articulated, but also like very like space alien in its delivery.
It's like I wrote it in a different language and then translated it to English.
Yes, it's like Google Translator. Because not only do you use she vaguely resembled Sean Young. So not even, it's not like, yeah, so it's like, oh, she kind of looks like this actor whose name you don't know from a movie that, like, unless you love sci-fi movies and love this movie in particular, you may not have thought about in 20 years. She vaguely looks like that person, and you use that as if this is like I don't need to name names because everybody knows what I'm talking about.
That's the funniest part. Like, I'm like, that's like a big tell or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm being a little naughty here with this wink that I'm doing. But also, I happen to know that you worked in point of sale systems at this time.
Yeah.
Right? And
I still do, yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if you wanted to say that or not. But
yeah.
So you also, let's face it, Micros is a problematic system.
I know.
You're also saying this like, hey, you know it. I know it. We're all thinking it. We just need to start talking about it.
And it's kind of my not to be racist but moment a little bit.
Not to be racist, but let me play on this well-worn trope that Micros is a problematic system.
I know.
So there's just like a lot of like you coming from a highly specific point of view and treating it as very universal.
I know.
But Zach, I want to say one other thing about this. Now, this is, I said I didn't know what this was going to be. I knew it was a Yelp review. Was there any sort of, you said this sounds like it's written by a drunk professor. What, do you feel that there was some sort of influence affecting your perspective when you wrote this review?
So let's see here. This was written in May of 2017. My wonderful there you go, wonderful again. My lovely wife and I were married later in the fall of that year, on September 30th. I was under and I say this with a wink and a nod, you know, but I was under a lot of stress at this period, and not because we were planning a wedding, but we had just moved to a new area. I had just started a job within the last under a year. There was just a lot of stress. What it doesn't matter, you know, what the details were, but I say all that to say I had been prescribed, I'll just say, a well sought after drug to help with stress by my doctor at this point, and was drinking a lot of red wine as well. I can't say that I remember that this night in particular, but it has that because I'm very delighted to say that while I do still experience a lot of stress, and I'm not attempting to shame anybody that takes medication for that. That is no longer something that I need to exist. But I was very naive to the effects of taking said medication and drinking red wine, and I just feel like it has that feel to it.
Sure. Which Zach also makes
any of that if you want, by the way.
No, I mean, I don't have as long as you don't mind sharing that with the listeners.
I don't.
It's also very funny because that makes this like such a Karen moment of yours that you're like, you are like, no, you're right. Like a suburban wine mom leaving angry Yelp reviews with like, and including tangents about who people at the restaurant looked like. Well, I that was a leading question, because the one thing Zach told me about this review is I found the only Yelp he sent me a text that said something like, I found the only Yelp review I've ever written. It's insane and really funny, and I could tell I was high when I wrote it. And that I think that we will need to get to the album, so this is maybe a little bit of a tease, but that did inspire me to pull up an email that I remembered that I was high when I wrote. And so I don't know if we should probably get into the album, right? I think but maybe we can in our next episode.
I kind of want to hear yours.
Okay. So
I want to keep riding this wave.
All right. So yeah, I tried to not read ahead too much on yours, so I would say maybe try, but we'll need to post images of this
All right. Okay.
In the because the way do you have it open? Okay. So
oh my God. What is this?
So this is an email I wrote. Now let's see. Let's see what the date is on this.
July 9th, 2013.
July 9th, 2013. Okay, so you talked about being stressed and being under the influence of drugs to cope with that stress. July 9th of 2013. That means I'm a new father at this point. My son is 2 months old, almost to the day. And I remember that when I wrote this email, I had gotten up. I think it was like my morning to get up with the baby. And he had gotten up super early and, or gotten up. He had woken up super early and I'd spent some time settling him down and then put him in his bassinet in the living room and took a weed edible and then sat at the computer pounding coffee from 6 a.m. So I'm just and that used to be my favorite drug combination is just shitloads of caffeine and marijuana. I believe that it's been referred to as the poor man's speedball. But but now I just want listeners to have that in mind as they hear this email. So this is an email to, have I set it up properly, do you think?
Yes. Yeah, no. Yes,
okay.
Please. I need you to explain.
So so that's the state of mind when I write this email is I'm high and super caffeinated and I wonder if it says what time I wrote it. Probably not.
10:13
a.m. Okay, but I had been the hours had gone into this by the time it was sent at 10:13 a.m. And yeah, I guess listeners will find out what the email is about. But the other thing to know that this is to all of the there was an email thread of all the residents of my building, and this is what I wrote. So this is HPE residents is at the time all the people who lived in this building,
right?
Which is not a huge number of people, but it's still, this is a crazy.
Still a group of people, though.
Still a group of people who I know to varying degrees, and most of them not that well. Okay. Right. So the subject of this email is "We are fucked." That's we period are period fucked period. Okay. Opening line. Sorry. Rats.
Each rat is 10 sizes bigger than the last, too.
And the last one is in red.
Yes.
So it's ascending in size. Rats. Fact. If you see one rat, you have an infestation. Fact. Last night, I witnessed multiple rats scurrying around in the large tree with the orange flowers. I've spent my morning pounding coffee and doing research.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please interrupt at any time with any questions or comments.
Go ahead.
I should also say that these facts are bolded. So it's fact in bold, then colon, and then fact in bold.
I like that about it, actually.
Right. And this is all under, again, listeners will need to see rats. That's my favorite part. But okay. I've spent my morning pounding coffee and doing research. These are the common roof rat. Sorry, I really am having a hard time keeping it together.
No, it's okay.
These are the common roof rat. They reproduce extremely quickly, and it's only a matter of time before they find a way into the building, if they haven't already. Fact. Time to start panicking, because we are fucked.
You sound like Hudson from Aliens.
Yeah.
That's it. Absolutely. Game over, man. We're fucked.
That's funny though, because in my mind, the tone when I wrote this email was like, fact. These are the
Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, it was more just like somebody needs to speak to the troops, and I can't sugarcoat it. Like the fact
do something, God damn it!
Right. It was more just like, look, I'm not going to play nice here and treat you with kid gloves. Like, this is an infestation. We're probably going to die fighting this war.
Well, and keeping with my aliens analogy, they reproduce extremely quickly. The xenomorph, known for its rapid reproduction.
Yes. And also, I do just want to say, like, this email, and I don't know if I should say this or not. This email is not, I don't know if this makes it less funny, but I remember writing this, like, I thought that this was funny. Like, it wasn't coming.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It wasn't coming from a place of like,
this is serious, meant to be taken seriously.
No, it is. It's like, I thought like this email was my sense of humor, but it also is indicative of like a genuine mental unwellness that was going. I mean, the fact that I was like, oh, this is funny, and so I'm going to send this to everybody in the building is weird.
Yes.
And also, I was obsessed with the rats. Like, there was
I remember
rat. Yeah. So, I mean, so you can probably attest to, I think it was bordering on a little bit of a compulsive and or an obsessive and unhealthy thing.
Did you remember, and I'm sure you'll get to this, but connecting with any of the recipients in person and them saying, well, I didn't know that email was meant to have a comedic vibe?
No, I didn't. I never let them know that it was supposed to be a comedic vibe. I only indicated an alarming vibe.
I agree. Can you read the last fact one more time just to kind of reset us?
Yes. Fact. Time to start panicking because we are fucked.
Fact, Ignan. It's not doing it for me. There's a little Easter egg.
The fact that I'm trying to do it for you.
That's a bottle rocket.
Okay, so those are the three facts. Just to review, the facts are: if you've seen one rat, you have an infestation. That I have. The second fact is that I witnessed multiple rats, and that I spent the morning pounding coffee and doing research.
That admission is so weird that you chose to include that. Anyway, keep going.
It's so weird that I did this. Period. This is such a alienating.
I don't agree with that.
I was friendly with a few people in the building, but this is a crazy thing to send to everybody.
Well, yes, but I mean,
just like, hey, everyone will get kind of my sense of humor. When I send them this crazy ass email.
Totally.
And then the third fact is we are fucked. Because I do remember the reason I specify these are roof rats is because in my research, what I did learn is that in America, we have two kinds of rats commonly, and they're the roof rat and the Norway rat. And roof rats climb all over everything and can get into everything and spend most of their life about 6 feet above the ground. This is what I remember from my research. So those are the three facts. And then in giant, bolded, italicized, and underlined font, it says, or we can pull together and beat these rats at their own game. Strength in numbers. Who's with me? I'm going to get on the phone with the landlord about having somebody trim this tree and cleaning up the crazy brush pile in the backyard. Also, if no one objects, I'd like to set some traps in the basement. Do any of you guys have additional thoughts on this? Is my concern perhaps a bit excessive? Should we be trying to learn how to live with the rats? I'm open to hearing all sides of the issue. That's the end of the email. No sign off. It also occurs to me, other than asking permission to set traps in the basement, none of this needs to be checked with other people at all.
Right. Well, especially because you crossed off the most important fact, which is I'm going to speak to the landlord. And it is important in a shared building or living space of any kind that you alert the other occupants that there will be traps, because while they probably couldn't kill a child, they're obviously could be very dangerous, to your extremities and so forth. just if you step on a trap.
So really, this email should be, "Hey everybody, I've seen some rats running around. I'd like to have some traps put out. Does anybody have any objections to that?" That's what this email should be. Instead, it's this crazy performative. It's basically me like performing my mental breakdown for.
Had you started
neighbors.
stand up? This is the year you started, right?
This is the year I started. So I am about. Let's see. I'm 2 months out from becoming a father, and I'm like about 4 months out from starting stand-up comedy. Clearly dealing with both life adjustments in a very healthy and balanced way. Now, I do again. The one defense of this email that I will do is I know my sense of humor, and I know that I am being, by my standards, I am being funny.
Oh, by mine too.
Like, this is not completely what is completely unself-aware is the fact that I feel comfortable sharing this with a bunch of acquaintances.
Yeah.
But but like the tone of it is not totally unself-aware. Like, I am actually freaking out about the rats and actually obsessed about the rats, but I am making myself laugh. I know, with this rats opening. With the the facts about the roof rat, and also the part really cracks up when I ask, should we be trying to learn how to live with the rats?
Right. No, I love that. If only Jack Nicholson's character in The Departed would have asked himself that question, there would have been so much less death,
so much less bloodshed.
Yeah.
Great and
movie.
I'll tell you, the tree with the orange flowers outside my dining room window looked a lot like that final shot of The Departed.
In which a rat crosses.
Rats. Yes.
Yeah, that has always struck me as so subtle. In a movie filled with, actually, I guess it's not. We don't need to talk about this. I recently rewatched The Departed, and I was wondering how it would hold up for me, and I fucking loved it.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's just
to me, it's like mid tier Scorsese, but like high mid tier.
Yes, absolutely.
Zach, I gotta ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
Do we not want to talk about this album? What is that? What's happening here?
No, I really would love to.
All right, let's get into it. Let's get into it, because I think this is a weird one that we're here to talk about today. We've avoided. Yeah. We've had enough fun. It's time to eat our vegetables and talk about Atoms for Peace. Can I please have my moon-shaped pool when you finish your Atoms for Peace? Zach says to me.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great analogy. I mean, should we kind of let's
tell the folks what it is. I mean, people might not know what, but I mean, if I'll let you get into it more specifically, but if you know what this is and you've never really delved into it, which is
a lot of
Tom
people's
York
experience.
was more, I think it was kind of both of our experience. We've talked about how we've heard an Atoms for Peace tune here or there, but neither of us had ever heard something that hooked us enough to go kind of really check it out. And I know we've talked to some other big Radiohead fans who listen to the podcast who have, because we were like maybe going to have a guest on this, but it was a little hard to book a guest because a lot of the biggest Radiohead heads we know were also like, for whatever reason, I never checked out Atoms for Peace.
Yes.
There's more to it than this, but basically the headline here is Atoms for Peace is when Tom York was in a band with Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's what most people know about it going in, if they know anything. I also knew that it was a collaboration with Nigel Godrich, that he is like a band member of this band, but why don't you go into it beyond that?
Sure.
No, that's not even the whole lineup of the band.
It's not the whole lineup. And I remember Walker alerting me via text message. Dude, I want to say it was like in 2009 when my decision, conscious or not, that they like, this is my band, was like really, really starting to fully form, I was in the third trimester, whatever. But I remember you telling me in 2009, because that's when he started touring, Tom York has a band with Flea. And those words in a sentence together, regardless how you maybe feel about Red Hot Chili Peppers, but if you're a Radiohead fan, there is no denying in my mind that Flea is one of the greatest musicians on earth, one of the most inventive. This is opinion based, but Flea is such an amazing musician, and that's incredibly exciting because Tom York is such an inventive, amazing singer, and they're both kind of weird, right?
Yeah. I am very much on record. I don't know if I'm on record on this podcast, but on record with you certainly about very much not being a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan. I love Flea's playing. And
yes.
Not only do I love his playing, but I love to watch him play. He's also very known for his stage presence and his energy, even as now a pretty old guy. And he still is incredibly exciting to watch. And he gets very, very unique sounds out of the bass guitar.
He plays the bass in such a unique way, along with his talking about the Red Hot Chili Peppers, along with John Frusciante. And not to tip my hand here, what is so interesting about some of the sounds of this album is I hear a Frusciante, that is the guitarist of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Frusciante type groove in some of the songs that is difficult to discern if it's a guitar or a bass making those sounds, but we'll cover that during the songs. And real quickly on Flea too, I want to recommend the book, his autobiography, Acid for the Children. I've read it twice. It does not talk about Atoms for Peace or his collaboration with Tom York at all, not in a way that is unfavorable. That's not what the book is about. It's not about when I made this album. It does talk about, though, that after the studio album Stadium Arcadium, Flea was very... No, I'm sorry. After By the Way. So this would have been in like 2003. Flea was really dejected. He was in a low place. Flea has been a sober guy for many years. And, he had said that like kind of this was around the point when he was coming up on, I want to say like 10 to 15 years. And in the book, he talks about that there's something that maybe happens if you've been able to maintain your sobriety. And this is not like a written rule, but there is something where you're not at risk necessarily of going back to those old destructive habits, but it's quite common for people to sort of enter into this lull. And I don't know how to explain it because that's not something I have any experience with, but the way he talks about it in the book is very eloquent and interesting.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Disenchantment.
Yeah, exactly. So what Flea did is he applied to and was accepted to USC, which is one of the most prestigious universities on the West Coast. Stanford and USC are generally thought of as kind of the Harvard of the West Coast. I'm sure I'm missing one or two, but very, 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 very great school with a very, very, very celebrated film and music program. So like George Lucas and Martin Scorsese went to USC. So Flea went to USC to complete his education and graduated. If you're looking up, I would love it if you would tell me those dates so I know what album it was after. But I just think it's so cool to imagine you're a student at USC, you're a music major, and you're in classes with Flea, because that's what he did. He went to classes. And I'm saying all of this because I think it's cool. And
looks like it was reported on in 2008.
Okay, so then this would have been after Stadium Arcadium, not after, by the way. I apologize. Stadium Arcadium was 2006. John Frusciante left the band in 2009. So he and John Frusciante were both experiencing a sense of dejection after what was one of their most celebrated albums at that point in their career. And, Flea, he learned all about music theory, studying music, how to read music, a lot of, and this is pertinent to the discussion, a lot of African beats, just African music in general. And I think that's really, really cool because there's always been an element of sort of like percussive playing that is present in the Red Hot Chili Peppers that Chad Smith and Flea are able to achieve together, but also just Flea on his own. I have never heard the bass make sounds with just a bass player like Flea can do. So obviously I love the guy, but I also wanted to talk about the education piece because it is relevant to sort of the formation of what became Atoms for Peace, which, as you covered, it's Tom York, Flea, Joey Waronker, Is that how you say his last name? Anyways, I know this gentleman, Warinker, I think.
Yeah, Warinker sounds right to me.
He's the drummer for Beck's for most of Beck's studio albums. So Nigel Godrich connection there. When I saw Beck live, he was on the drums. And then there's also a gentleman named Mauro Refosco. I know he's a Brazilian gentleman, so I'm not quite sure on the
Brazilian
pronunciation.
percussionist.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of work with is it John Bryan? With John Bryan, and also with Talking Heads lead singer
David Byrne.
So he's Mauro Refosco is more of a collaborative.
So on the drums and percussion, basically we have two folks, but I would say sessions guys.
Yes, and Joey is really the drummer. The other gentleman provides percussion, and then obviously at the mixing board. But as Walker said, collaborating instrumentation wise is Nigel Godrich.
Yeah, looping, sequencing, and also playing synths and guitars.
Yes, I love that last little detail because I've seen Nigel play the bass like in video footage. I've never seen him play a guitar, and but as we know, anyone can play guitar. The album was released. I'm sorry. Actually, do you have anything you want to add to that, Walker, of what I just talked about?
No, not at all. I'll save my thoughts and opinions till we're kind of listening to the music.
The album was released on February 20th, 2013. That is the United States release date. I believe I saw February 25th elsewhere, but we'll just say February 20th. The recorded dates were 2010 to 2012. This is a short album as well. It's a little bit longer than In Rainbows, but in terms of tracks, it's only 9 tracks long. It's 44 minutes, 35 seconds. It was released through XL Recording, so listeners are familiar with that label at this point. Sort of an indie like Sub Pop Records would be like a good comparison.
It's England's largest indie label.
And this album is an electronica album. So, when you hear Tom York and Flea and you think about the catalog of music that those and Joey Warinker, Beck is obviously plays in every single type of genre, but is generally thought of as a rock musician. My instinct when I learned about this album was not that it would be an electronic album. And I think there is debate if it's purely that, but we'll cover that, like as Walker said, during the songs. And I just a little bit of background on sort of how this group was assembled and conceived. I'm quoting the San Francisco Chronicle right here. This was also found in the LA Times and various other sources. But the group was first assembled for Tom York's 2010 solo tour, right? And this was also in 2009. He was touring The Eraser, which was released in 2006. And I think I couldn't really find a source corroborating why there's such a long gap there. But if you think about the Eraser's release, that was right in the middle of recording In Rainbows. So it makes sense that maybe Tom wouldn't be able to go on an extensive tour while he was recording the 7th Radiohead album. Would you agree?
Yeah, that sounds right. And I also think, though, this band played a lot of solo Tom York stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm going to get...
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that. So that's why they were assembled, was to really tour these songs from the Eraser live. Initially, though, just to kind of find their groove as musicians, as we talked about, Nigel Godrich has produced Beck albums. It totally jives with me. Obviously, I don't know Flea, but I've read his autobiography. I've watched a lot of interviews with him. He has some Tom Yorkness about him. He seems like a much more social guy, but he seems incredibly intense. And I guess I'll just stop there. I could see, when like you and I, for instance, we're both Leos, but there's something that there's a connection there, and because similarity doesn't always mean friendship is what I mean to say. And right. but anyways, that's all. So to kind of like get the vibe, settled to see if there was energy here, these men spent 3 days jamming in the studio. And that eventually led to enough material for Nigel Godrich and Tom York to compile into a 9-track album, right? And that was...
It all came from this 3-day jam.
Which is nuts, and also might potentially be something that I think potentially reduced its level of quality. I'm not going to say if that's my opinion, but that's a possibility. So it was in these jam sessions, I should say, were inspired by an all-night Fila Cudi listening session. Now, I would love it if you have a help on the pronunciation there. But that is I believe Fela Kuti is a
He's a
African
Nigerian musician.
Uh-huh.
And I don't have a better pronunciation than that. Fela Kuti sounds good. And yeah, as an avant-garde musician, regarded as a pioneer of Afrobeat, West African music, mixed with funk and jazz.
Did you get a chance to listen to any of their music?
I did not. I have heard him referenced by both Flea and Tom York before, though.
It's really cool. I spent about an hour last night listening, and it is one of those things. I gotta say, Walker, I'm not the first person to observe this. I'm like, oh, there. Like, there it is.
Oh, okay.
The Radiohead track. I'm sorry, they're there. And I've always sensed that in a lot of Radiohead's music, there is it's so obvious to me that it's an amalgamation of a lot of obscure music that for people that love music should maybe check out, but it's not a mandate that you do so, but it is really exciting. Charles Mingus being an example. Anyways, let me get through this last sentence, then I want to pass it over to you. So it was inspired by an all-night Fela Kuti listening session. This is, again, quoting the San Francisco Chronicle. The album balances unexpectedly fluid rhythms with expectedly jarring electronic beats and spectral vocals. I really liked that quote. That's why I picked it out. And I really like this quote too, which is not to say I agree with it, but it says, it doesn't sound that far removed from a Radiohead remix project. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I pulled a couple other articles from the LA Times and from Pitchfork that maybe I'll draw upon as we listen to it, but that was all I had.
No, that's great. I mean, look, the thing is I don't think there's a big story here. You know, like, I mean, it's like Tom and Flea met up, had chemistry, did this jam, and they made an album out of it. Like, when Tom talks about it, it's in very relaxed tones. I think this is the definition of a side project in that the way it is described by the participants is this is something that was fun to do and done for fun. Not that they didn't take it seriously, not that it's a fuck around, but it's just not the Radiohead process of like, we got to top ourselves. We got to live up to these.
Nigel mixed it for 2 years.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he mixed it for 2 years in a chill way, not in a we're laboring over this for 2 years.
Totally.
Like, I mean, it basically was very similarly to the Eraser, how the Eraser was made by digging through all these samples and making loops and building songs off of that. Except this was digging through this 3-day jam session. Tom said about the songs, you're not trying to write them. You're just emulating what's already been written. That makes it fun straight away because it's a different sort of creative process. You're not struggling around in the dark for a way into a piece of music. You're figuring out how to strip it down to its raw essentials, especially if it's something that's been written on a computer, and then you just have to humanly learn how to play it. He called the process a lot more fun and relaxed than constantly trying to write music while learning how to play it.
Oh, I love that last bit. It's like, that's very interesting.
Right. So
can you repeat that, please?
A lot more fun and relaxed than constantly trying to write music while learning how to play it. So it's like,
wow,
we're creating this stuff on the computer, and it's almost like it's being written in the building it from these like scraps that we have laying around. And I think that's really cool. I like what Radiohead does a lot better. I don't know if it's too early to say,
no, that's okay.
say that, but it's a very different approach. And I think that you hear that in what you hear here.
Yeah, I really enjoy the background that you provided. And I would, if you have anything else, I just had one other thing before we dive into the tracks regarding the album title I wanted to speak to. But did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, just that I just think this is more definitionally a side project than anything that we have covered, because it's like
more so than the Eraser even.
Yes. Because Tom York will always I think that it seems unlikely that like they toured They had good chemistry, so they jammed, made this album. They played a tour in support of the album, and that was that. And it came out, and critically, everyone was kind of like, yeah, this is cool. And it really seems like it was like a thing in that time and place, whereas The Smile is very much planting their flag as like, we are a new band, that like, this is not a side project. Like, this is an ongoing project. I guess that's why I'm differentiating it as a side project versus an ongoing project. Tom York making solo material has not surpassed Radiohead, or, you know, he has not made as much solo material as he has had made music with Radiohead, but that is an ongoing project. The Smile is an ongoing project. This is as of now a one-off. And I don't think that we're alone as big Radiohead fans in that this didn't leave a huge impact. Like, I think it kind of
left a huge impact.
Oh, do you think it's being reevaluated?
By me, yeah, it's made a big impact on my listening and way that I perceive music and listen to music. But I agree with you. It's not at the same level.
But I mean, that it's a 10-year-old album now, and I just don't think that a great deal has been written about it. No, I don't think a great deal. Right. I don't think it's being discussed a lot among Radiohead fans, and I don't think that there's any sort of like, hey, are Atoms for Peace ever going to do anything again? Like, it just seems like everyone has kind of moved on. And so it was interesting to come back and look at, and that's surprising to me, because Tom starting a band and making an album with Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers that's like, you know, supergroup shit. But I don't know. But I guess a lot of supergroups kind of get the same treatment, and often supergroups are not greater than the sum of their parts. You know, I don't know if we'll feel that way about this one, but that seems to happen a lot.
It's certainly not Audioslave, which is, I think, probably the best example of a supergroup, but also maybe not a supergroup, because Zach De La Rocha, Rage Against the Machine broke up, and then the other three members, minus Zach De La Rocha, reformed under a new band, being Audioslave. I love Audioslave, especially that first album. But then there's, you know, Velvet Revolver, you know,
right.
They are not a great band, but I'm just trying to think of other examples. Oh, the Traveling Wilburys. Like, what is there a better assemblage of classic musicians than that? Probably not, but it doesn't always work. And I'm not going to say that's how I feel about Atoms for Peace. I do want to discuss the album's name before we get into the tracks, but I just want to express that
there's also Johnny Depp's band, the Hollywood Vampires,
with is it Iggy Pop?
Iggy Pop would never debase himself to be in a band.
Somebody cool is in it, I think.
It's Alice Cooper, Joe Perry, and
I love how you think Iggy Pop would never do something undignified.
Tommy Henriksen. Iggy Pop's cool. I'm not saying he's never done anything embarrassing.
He's certainly made some bad decisions in his life.
No, but I think he has a better understanding of his career than to be in a band with Johnny Depp.
I agree with you.
And their thing is, Zach, the Hollywood Vampires, I think they only do...
We Suck Young Blood is their gimmick.
They only do music by dead artists, I believe, is the thing.
Okay. All right.
Also, the Hollywood Vampires is the stupidest name I have ever heard.
Walker, I agree with you. Now, speaking of names, I think Atoms for Peace is a dope-ass name.
Sure.
And I also think that my Audioslave example is just not great, because that was the new group. As you said, this is a side project. And it is interesting that it was a one-album side project. But yeah, I would love to kind of get into the tracks a little bit more, because as I've stated, you know, I'm a huge Beck fan, and when I say Beck, I mean I love all the musicianship on his albums. My fanship of the Red Hot Chili Peppers is interesting because I'm a huge fan of the John Frusciante solo albums. I love the musicianship in that band, not on every song, but I agree with Walker. I will just say for myself, Anthony Kiedis is singing works for the band on some songs in that I couldn't imagine anyone else doing the vocals, but he is very annoying and sometimes can actually kind of ruin a song of theirs for me. That's neither here nor there, but I just wanted to express my love
their
of
new
Flea.
album when it came out, and I was like, I would genuinely listen to. I've gotten way more into instrumental music in the last couple of years, and specifically kind of instrumental like pop and rock music. Like obviously there's a lot of instrumental jazz and electronic music, but it's stuff where it's just, I used to hear a band like, the band that I got really into in the last year is Krangbin.
Oh, I've never heard of them.
And they have some vocals, but usually it's when they do, it's kind of down in the mix, and and it's often in Spanish, or kind of nonsense, and most of it is just instrumental. But it's music where you're kind of, I used to hear music like that because it is basically like rock and roll. And I used to hear a band like that and go, why wouldn't you just put, finish the song, just put lyrics? But now I'm like, no, it's just a different vibe, and it's nice, and you can kind of jam in a more open way. All that to say, Red Hot Chili Peppers are doing pop rock songs, but the grooves are nice enough. Not 100% of them for me either, but most of it is stuff I like enough, this kind of rock and funk, that I would listen to instrumental versions of these songs. All three of the band members, aside from Kiedis, are world-class musicians and are really good at what they do. He ruins songs for me. One exception being, on my shuffle the other day, the song Scar Tissue came up, and in that I was like, he is kind of talk singing, but I'm like, weirdly it actually works for me in this song. But I mean, I find what he does in general to only detract.
Have you listened to any of do you have any interest, or have you listened to any of the Frusciante solo stuff?
Yeah, I have listened to some of it, and it's cool. I don't know it well, but I've liked stuff that I've listened to.
Man, it's good. And not all of it. He's one of those musicians.
It's very eclectic.
It is, yeah. And he fucks around with a lot of electronic music too, which I just want to say, this is the last thing I'll say before the album title. Listeners may or may not have picked up on my tenuous connection at best during the Hail of the Thief album to say, like, hey, Mars Volta had their debut album, this year. I wonder if the music on that album, because it's so weird, if that would be something Johnny Greenwood would listen to. And I think the song 2 + 2 = 5 sounds vaguely like a Mars Volta song. In the background of this album, they recorded it at Rick Rubin's house on Mulholland Drive. And that is where the Mars Volta recorded their debut album and recorded their last album this very year of... the very year that this album was recorded. So they were circulating in and out of Rick Rubin's home/recording studio in LA. Flea plays bass on the Mars Volta debut album. He also plays the trumpet on Francis the Mute during the song Miranda, This Ghost Isn't Holy Anymore, and The Widow. It's just, I'm not saying there's any connection. I'm not saying these bands hang out. It doesn't matter. I can like two groups individually. It is just interesting to see because music is such a small and intimate circle. But even within that circle, I think your Tom Yorks, your Omar Rodriguez Lopez's, your Fleas, your whomever, those are guys that I think are, in my opinion, at the top of their class in terms of inventiveness and style and proficiency. And it's just fun to know that there was like literal physical traffic overlap. That's all.
So, okay, we'll keep talking about some of this and why the album is either underrated or why it kind of maybe didn't leave a huge impression, if we like it or not, as we kind of listen to it. The first song on Amok is called Before Your Very Eyes. So this is Before Your Very Eyes, but you were starting to indicate that you have some thoughts or did some research about the title itself of the album, which is Amok.
Yeah. So the album is titled Amok, spelled A, M as in Mary, O, K as in kangaroo. And as I understand it, the word or the phrase, amok is typically spelled AMUCK. I wasn't able to find a source to validate this, but I think that we were talking about Stanley Kubrick earlier, and my theory on where this album title came from is from the following quote from a movie. I'll let Walker actually state what movie it is after I kind of run through the line. Your predecessor in this job. Sorry, let me take that again.
The word is spelled AMOK.
Oh, okay. I've just seen it spelled different ways, but I think this is where they got the album title from. Your predecessor in this job was a man named Charles Grady as the winter caretaker. He came up here with his wife and 2 little girls. I think they were 8 and 10. He had a good employment record, good references, and from what I've been told, he seemed like a completely normal individual. But at some time during the winter, he must have suffered some kind of complete mental breakdown. He ran amok, killed his family with an axe, stacked their bodies neatly in one of the rooms in the West Wing, and then he put both barrels of a shotgun in his mouth. Well, I certainly understand why you wanted to tell me that, not your people in Denver. Anyway, that's all. That's where I think they got the album title from.
I bet you're right. They got it from that scene in The Shining. One thing I always loved about the scene in The Shining.
How was my Omen? Can you just tell me? Was it good?
Really good. Really good. I felt like I was watching the movie. And one thing that I love about that scene is, and this has been pointed out, anything that I can say about The Shining has been pointed out, so I guess totally. I won't even apologize for that. But how unsettling and weird the movie and people and the situations feel before it even gets into the scary stuff.
Yes.
And that's one where the dude tells that story like it's this like charming, cute story. Like he's kind of
smiling in a weird way.
He's smiling in a weird way. And you could say it's like people do smile in situations where they're talking about to be polite or because of discomfort. Yeah. And it can read as that. Like everything in The Shining, there is like kind of a normal explanation for it. Mm-hmm. But it is also like it's a strange way that he's conveying this really gruesome information. It's an odd, and obviously Jack's reaction to it is also very odd.
Yeah, Jack.
Well, I see why you waited why you didn't leave that to the people in Denver to tell me. It's like,
and also how he
very
says
robotic.
His wife won't mind because she's a true crime and horror aficionado. There is zero evidence that Wendy is a true crime and horror aficionado. And so much so, in fact, when you look at the books in their apartment, they're all like romance novels. So,
wow.
So
you just told me something that I had not observed or heard. So
there's a couple observations I have about The Shining that I'm sure have been spoken into existence, but that's one of the ones that I credit to myself, where I'm like, there's no evidence to support that statement.
Right.
Anyways,
it's either just projection or an outright lie.
Right.
Which is very in line with who Jack is. Listeners, you may have noticed we haven't talked about this song at all. Zach and I did talk about, and I'm going to open it up to talk about this song. For me, Zach, if I were to talk about every song on this album, it would be somewhat redundant. It would be me saying, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite kind of music.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. That's what I would say about most of these songs, and I don't want to say that over and over. There are moments of things that stand out to me as really cool that I really like.
Yeah.
I do like this song. I think this opening track is pretty cool. It's also one of the few that is driven by kind of a guitar groove that's now faded out now that I'm talking about it. But there's not a lot of recognizable guitar on this album, but there is in this. But anyway, so if we kind of zone out and talk about other stuff during a fair amount of these songs, I just wanted to get that on the record that's kind of how I feel about this album in general. This electronic music is I think, as we've covered in some of the it's just I'm just not as into it as I am kind of the more full band approach that Radiohead uses, and I don't want to complain about that or repeat that over and over. So I just want to get that out there now. But Zach, how do you kind of feel about this song? And if that's a window into talking about how you feel about Amok in general, go for it.
Yeah, no. I really liked your summation. Maybe I'll save kind of my overall thoughts for, during a song or two, but I don't want to just echo what you said precisely. I really, really like this song. I find that to be one of the songs that has a little bit of a John Frusciante style sound to it, which is very interesting because Tom York would be the guitar player. Sure. And I think that just kind of goes to show, potentially, this is all ethereal, or this is all theory, that this collaboration is going to push musicians to maybe create different sounds than what they normally would. So a Flea and Tom York collaboration, because they're both playing on strings, maybe because of the groove Flea lays down, Tom is playing in a different style. I'm not saying that it sounds identical to a Frusciante, but the is not what I imagine, when I think of a Radiohead riff, especially because Tom loves the E, A, and D strings. Tom's always hitting those. So to start on what I imagine would be the high E and the B string, I don't know how to play the song. It's just different, is what I would say. I like that song a lot. I think this is probably one of the only times I'll compare it to King of Limbs. I think your objections to Bloom were really, really solid and really well articulated. And I think just because this is an electronica album produced by Nigel Godrich, relatively close to the release of King of Limbs, and certainly during the production, I think that the only reason I'm comparing it is I think this is maybe a stronger opening statement for an electronica album, which, as you said, is maybe not the go-to of what you'd listen to. It was a little bit of an obscure, weird deviation, but I'll kind of cap it off there. I really, really, really like that song.
No, I'm glad you brought King of Limbs into it, because actually it's not like I don't want to talk about the music. I just don't want to shit on it for being what it is and going, I wish it was my favorite thing. Right.
Totally.
But I'm glad you brought King of Limbs into it, because this is not a dissimilar approach to how this was recorded, right? They played a bunch of stuff in the studio and then they sequenced it and looped it and went into software and built songs out of it. Now, that's interesting, and I think they built some really cool songs, but I just am, as a fan, not as into that. Now,
right.
I also really love the Eraser, which is all electronic. I think the reason I don't like this album as much is, as we get into it, my main objection to this is really not that it's an electronica album, because the songs that I love are not more like full band. They're electronica songs. But my objection to this album kind of becomes, I think it's very samey. And I think that the Eraser, while a very electronic album, has a lot of really different sounds and styles of song on it. And this one, at a certain point, and I can tell you when it is, when we get to it, there is a definite peak on Amok for me. And it's both, to me, my favorite song on the album, and where everything after it sounds the same, and I can't kind of break out of the boredom that hits from that point. And that's been true for me listening to it, because my listening experience has been very similar over the last few weeks. Every time is, oh, fuck, I was missing out. This is pretty cool. All right. Okay, that song, not as much, but you know what? This is still a pretty cool album. And then hits a point, and then I go, now I just kind of don't care anymore.
Okay. I really like this project because I definitely, I would like to say I don't suffer from, because this author, this musician, this person made this thing, I automatically love it, and I convince myself why I love it, even if it's bad. But I do think, though, with Radiohead in particular, and other types of art, I think it's not that I want to like it, even if it's bad, or I lack the ability to articulate what I don't like about it, or so. But I just think that what this has in common with Radiohead music that I love so much is, yes, I'm listening to it a lot for this podcast so I can articulate thoughts about it, but there's something about it where I'm like, the more you listen to it, and maybe it's a Stockholm syndrome thing, but I'm like, the more I listen to it, the more I want to understand it. And then when that moment hits, and by the way, when I say understand it, it doesn't mean I figured out how to play it, how it's constructed at all, but where I'm like, I can hear it. I can finally hear it. It's so fulfilling. And I think this has a little bit less of that on it than, say, like the Eraser or the best Radiohead albums do. But all that to say, I think you have to work at it a little bit with this album. And I've really worked at it. And some of the songs have like peaks like the Eraser. The only thing I would disagree with is that maybe it sounds like a little bit samey after a certain point. But I'm excited to hear where that occurs for you. Did what I just said make sense at all?
Absolutely. No, I think that you are looking at it very critically, and I appreciate that. I might be dismissing it too easily. I don't
think you are. No.
I think that for me, it's like I feel like they're telling us that they didn't put a huge amount of thought into it, and so I'm kind of like, yeah, that's cool. Like Tom deciding to, on a lark, start a band with Flea and make an album out of a 3-day jam session is a bigger creative. What he did with that is a bigger creative achievement than anything I will make in my life. Right?
Hey, don't sell the future short.
Okay, whatever. But you know what I mean? It's a compliment. It's not. I'm not shitting on myself. I'm complimenting him.
I agree.
Right? It's that's how talented this guy is. That's what a big fan I am of his music. Compared to the rest of his body of work, I am a little bit like, yeah, and this sounds like that. It sounds like, and that it still has some really cool, surprising, awesome moments. But here's the other thing, and this is, I'm going to say this once so I don't say it 50 fucking times. Sure. I don't want to, like I said, just complain about this album being something it's not. Mm-hmm. To me, it's a little bit... Flea has some really great playing on this album. We heard it in that last song when he comes in.
Oh, did we? Yeah.
I think it's like really cool that Flea can play on this album and play to a different set of strengths than we hear him do in the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's cool that he's not just this one note musician and he doesn't need to be coming in slapping and doing all this like driving kind of funky playing. But I also think, similarly to the moments that I don't love on King of Limbs, to me it feels like kind of a shame to remove kind of the organic human touch from these Radiohead songs and make them all these like kind of clean little plastic things that you've run through the computer. On moments of this album, I'm like, it's kind of a shame to me that you got Flea and you got this drummer and you got this percussionist and all you're doing is synthesize. All you're doing, you know what I mean? And that
I do know
that you're synthesizing it all into this electronic package where I'm kind of like, on a lot of this, I'm like, yeah, I recognize Tom, but I don't recognize anything else human about this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm wondering if when you do the edit, if you can pitch your voice down to mine, because you literally just verbalized what my chief complaint of the album is. No, so well said, Walker. I think the moment I don't hear Flea a ton in that last song. Where this album peaks for me is the only thing that I'm not correcting you. Is how you said, like, it's great that Flea can do other things. I think that's what makes Flea's playing in Red Hot Chili Peppers so exciting, is that sometimes it sounds like a guitar. Sometimes it is a little bit, but I know what you meant. Yes, he is an emphatic bass player that has a spotlight all his own. But
I don't mean that he's only doing one thing in Red Hot Chili Peppers. I mean that he's not doing what he does in Red Hot Chili Peppers here. And that's cool.
No, totally. I would just say what he's doing here, I also hear there, is all I meant to say.
Fair enough.
But to the mixing, where I think we'll save it for one of our final episodes, where I want to talk about how incredible your intuition and understanding of mixing is, at least compared to my own. But I've started to hear music a little bit differently throughout this project, and I've been really trying to learn about like what somebody like a Nigel does. Beyond just being like they produce it, the mixing. It does bother me because I think the Flea peaks on this album I'm like, whoa, yeah. And it's okay that it's not like a raw bass sound, But I think in the percussion and in the bass, there are some really, really spectacular heights on this album. And then on the songs where it feels a little bit indulgent of Nigel to have taken 2 years to just turn Tom up, are bothersome. But we can go on to the next song. I really agree with what you said. That was going to be my point.
No, totally, man. I mean, again, and I'm glad that we kind of could. I'm glad that we could just articulate that now, because to a certain extent, this is a subjective taste issue, right? If you love this kind of music, go with God. I'm not knocking it. I feel like in the last few episodes, I've become a little bit of like a Gen Xer, like drum machines have no soul, man, like type of guy. And I'm getting a little self-conscious of it. But I watched some live footage of this band, and it fucking kicks ass when they are on a stage playing as a 5-piece band. And it's still very electronic when they're doing that. There's still a bunch of loops and sequencing going on. But to me, watching that and then hearing this in its best moments, I'm like, this is awesome Tom York songwriting. And in its kind of blandest moments, it's like, yeah, you took a 3-day jam with Flea and a Brazilian percussionist and this studio drummer, and you drained all the soul out of it and turned it into an electronica album. And that's just not that. It's not something that is exciting to me.
Dude, last point, and then I want to get into the next track. But what you just said, I resonates with me so much about the live footage. I had watched From a Basement of the King of Limbs several times before we discussed it in our episode and listened to it together. And this ties into this because of the sort of Fela Kuti, I believe, was the African musician that they were had spent a lot of time ruminating on his music. And that there's a moment, and I want to say it's Morning Mr. Magpie, kind of during that bridge section, where I'm like, oh my God, I love the way Tom York pays homage to different styles of music, and the way that he'll sometimes kind of like moan and groan on a yell. And he does a lot of that with Atoms for Peace live as well, is what I was trying to say. The vocal spots he picks are so odd and non-Western at times, I would say. And I was getting a lot of that feeling when watching the Atoms for Peace live. Like, basically, I'm just saying what you just said. I felt the same as when we watched some of the From a Basement sessions of the King of Limbs. That sometimes, you don't have to put everything through such a synthesis to impress music nerds. We can talk more about that at the end, but I just wanted to throw that in.
Right, and King of Limbs has something that this doesn't, which is Radiohead spurring each other on to top themselves, and also with with that history, musical and personal, that they have. And I just think that maybe inspires some higher highs than we get here. But that's okay. This is not a Radiohead album. This is a side project, and I think it should be looked at through that lens, All right, get back into it.
Go.
All right. Track 2 is called Default. You know what?
Huh.
I think this I think this song's fucking sick.
I love this song.
Is this the best one on the album?
Not for me. No, I have this in the 2 spot.
Okay, this is in number 1 or 2 for me. I mean, after everything I said of just like, oh, it's not as interesting to me when it's all electronic and everything like that, this totally sounds like it could be on the Eraser. I think it's just got an awesome groove, and it's really kind of evil and creepy sounding.
Yes, and I think that this song is a great example that goes against kind of some of the complaints, I would say, that we worded differently, but leveled against some of the album, in which that the percussion doesn't feel super genuine, which it does sound digitized, but you can really, really hear a lot of, some of the things that we've talked about with electronic music is that it's like kind of loop driven, but I hear so much variance in what the percussion is doing, similar to Lotus Flower and Separator on the King of Limbs, where it's like, sure, it's a digital percussion, but like that.
Right.
And then, this sound. Let's just, I'll let it breathe, if that's okay.
Yeah, this chorus is awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. I love how it changes to a major key for the chorus. And I think you're pointing out something cool that, if the drums are being looped, there's still a lot of like chopping and screwing that's going on. Now, if I
love that noise of the string scrape too.
Yeah. Yeah, this song's super rad. Now, if I can maybe make another general complaint about this album, if that's okay. Sure. I think that the percussion becomes very annoying as the album goes on. It's like, it's always this busy, and that starts to wear really thin for me. Like, this album made me kind of miss Phil a lot, where I was just
Philip Selway?
Philip Selway, yeah, the bald king. Where I was just like, I think Phil has like a kind of a restraint and a taste level maybe that is not on display here when Nigel is just having his unmitigated fun sequencing all this stuff. Like, to me, it's like every song is arranged with just like non-stop skittering percussion. And I think it's super cool in this song and super cool at other moments, but it just starts to get really kind of like excessive for me.
I love the lyrics of this song, Walker.
What are they?
The flesh is strong. Well, it's coming up, my favorite part. Well, the part I love first is what he said. The will is strong, but the flesh is weak. Maybe a biblical evocation. Flesh is weak. I'm still hanging on. It's just Tom York in his bag. I love, not all of them, but I love Tom York's short round bursts. Former guest of the show, Jesse Rimler, on our episode we did with him discussing the resequenced Hail to the Thief, he said, I don't get the sense that Tom York is always sitting on a mountain of poetry or lyrics, but what he does bring really hits, and that's kind of me adding on to what I can recall of what he said, but I think we were in agreement that Tom York is a fantastic lyricist, and I really love the sort of ethereal, less tangible things that he talks about. I love how this one has sort of a Kid A sort of visceral nature to it. Like heads on sticks, cut the kids in half. These weird, violent imagery that he sometimes evokes. It's just something I love about his writing.
Yeah, me too. I mean, and that one's just a great song. The melody's awesome. The arrangement is awesome. What do you think about my percussion criticism?
I agree. I think that
because you betrayed me with silence.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think
you stared at me. You stared at me like you're sick and you've gone mad.
No, not at all.
No, I think big picture, I'm super needy because I didn't get immediate validation.
I think this is kind of where I need you a little bit when listening to this stuff, because like I said, I don't think that I'm so hypnotized by the Radiohead Tom York spell that if something's bad, I just will convince myself to like it. But I do think, though, in terms of, and I'm speaking about the King of Limbs and now about this album, I loved how in the King of Limbs we kind of met each other halfway. Like there were some things I said that you said, whether the themes exist in me or in the music, that, it spoke to you at least. And then some of the things you said about like how what they were doing of taking their analog instruments and reproducing them digitally is sort of a unnecessary innovation. I guess I could have gotten there on my own, but just that description didn't exist within me, And I think that, and as that pertains to the percussion, I'm not saying that applies directly to this, but I would agree. I really like the way it builds and layers in that song, and I'm interested in kind of what you said in mine to hear some of them. I will say I don't think that the album has a peak for me in the same way you described that's upcoming. I'm interested to hear where that occurs for you, but I liked your critique, and I hope that was satisfactory given the absence that I provided previously.
No, of course it is. I demand it. I demand engagement with my criticism. Now, having said that, I've complained about this album a bunch. So far, 2 super cool songs.
Yeah.
And I would say that Before Your Very Eyes sounds like something, it doesn't sound dissimilar from Tom York's normal output, but it also sounds like something distinct to this project, I would say. And then Default, to me, just sounds like a banger Tom York solo track. So far, we got 2 things that I like. Something that's like, okay, this is different. This is like a new side project. And, this is a little more familiar, but it's really kicking butt. So track 3 is called Ingenue.
So what I really like about this song is I don't necessarily love the sound, the musicality, the loop that it's building around to start. And maybe they loved it, but I love what is built around it. So unlike Bloom, sorry to keep talking about King of Limbs, but unlike Bloom, where they kind of stick with the drum and piano loop and the only thing that builds on top of it is Tom York's vocals, this song, I'm hearing Flea. You said you heard Flea in the first track. Maybe I did, and I'm just forgetting. But I really start to hear the bass kick in, whether it's a synth bass or whatever. But I hear the bass guitar a lot, and I love what they build on top of that. Not that it's unpleasant, but that initial noise. So it's sort of the inverse of Bloom in that way for me. And I think it's 100% okay to invoke the King of Limbs in this episode because yeah, exactly. I love what Flea is doing in this song.
He's doing really cool like counter melodies. Absolutely. He doesn't ever, whenever he comes in a pronounced way on this record, it's never with what I would predict.
But yeah, absolutely. Well said. But what I love about this in comparison to some of the lesser tracks on the King of Limbs, which I would just say represent 2 tracks for me, and they were mixed during the same period of time. So obviously Nigel Godrich, having produced both albums, is going to be in some sort of similar headspace. And I think you can really hear that. I think this album succeeds, although by a different group of individuals, is a little bit where the King of Limbs stumbled for me a little bit, in that building a song off of a loop, there's more interesting elements added to this song than say something like a Bloom. Bloom is the 1-to-1 comparison I'm making.
Sure.
Does that track? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's I mean, I do think this song is much more interesting than Bloom.
Sure.
It also is one of the songs that represents a pretty big chunk of this album for me of, do I think this is good? Yeah, totally. Yeah. Will I ever probably put it on again after we're done talking about this album? Probably not.
Okay.
See, I like there's not a ton that I see myself going back to a lot on this record. And that's actually the first. That is the first. Out of the things that on this podcast we're kind of either rediscovering for the first time after a long time or delving into in earnest for the first time, this is the first one where it hasn't given me that like, oh my God, how did I miss this?
Yeah.
Even though I think it's good. It is totally good. Like, this is cool. I'm not saying it's not cool.
No,
but
I
understand. I just kind of like once it ends, I don't know that I'm thinking about it anymore. As opposed to King of Limbs,
Yeah.
I have my criticisms of songs, but there are songs where I'm like, Zach, I was clowning myself by not listening to this for the last 13 years.
Well, I want to praise Flea and Nigel in this moment because, like you said, counter melody. I mean, he's working in a quieter zone, right? But there's a lot going on here, and I really love the way the bass is mixed. When you have fucking Flea, you got to use him. And he's
yes, but you know what? I like what you just said about he's working in a quieter zone, because that is what I was trying to articulate about him doing something different here. Is not that he doesn't have a wide array of skills in his other projects, but he's very subtle on this album, and I do think that is really cool. At the same time, it's also what you just said. If you got Flea, you got to use him.
Man, dude, I'm reading.
No, this is cool, though. I mean, even just hearing it now, listening to it with you, I think I like it more than I have other times I've listened to it.
No, but I could totally dig what you're saying, though, about what you will go back to or not. I think, to be fair, see, this is cool to me, too. It is a little bit repetitive.
To the next song on the album.
This song vocally represents one of the high points for me too.
I really like this one. This is a favorite of mine on this album. And you know why, Zach?
Why?
Because this tempo and this groove is unusual for both Tom York's solo material and Radiohead. And I think that's also maybe what I'm looking for on this record that isn't always there for me. Is like, okay, well, hey, you didn't call this Tom York Amok. You called it Atoms for Peace Amok.
Yeah.
You called this a band for a reason. You brought in these new musicians for a reason. Make it different. And this song achieves that. Also, Zach, this melody, I think we hear this kind of melody and chord progression later in the Smile. Can you suss out which song? It's not exact, but the arrangement of the song that I hear it in the Smile is not like this at all. But
I was listening to the Smile last night on vinyl because I finally got the.
Okay, we should probably let this Flea moment stand out for a second.
Oh, dude, this is so tight.
So now, in case there was any doubt, Flea was on the track. He's just very groovy bass playing. Sorry, but you were saying you were listening.
No. I was listening to the Smile on vinyl last night because after listening to this album for, I would say, 3 weeks straight, I was like, I want to get some Smile going. And I realized how bad my track titling with the Smile album is, which I think is 14 tracks long.
Yeah.
So please tell me. I do hear it, but I can't remember the name of the track.
It sounds like Free in the Knowledge. Which is like an acoustic-y ballad on the, but we won't get caught like that.
Yeah.
On our backs. I mean, we're past the part that sounded like it, but it just sounds, it's definitely the same chord progression, I think.
We talked about it on the Eraser, and I don't know why this is the case, but on Tom other ventures, let's just say. So we'll say the Eraser, Atoms for Peace. There's something about the way he sings on these albums that I find it, and we talked about we like to harmonize individually with All I Need. And I think you and I both shamelessly like to sing along to music that we enjoy and find harmonies.
Yes.
This part, I was digging harmonizing with so much.
Just a passing phase. Do you hear it?
Yeah, I do. I totally hear it. But there's something about the way Tom sings melodically on those two albums in particular, these two albums, where I find the harmonies a little bit easier to find. And I don't see it in my point. I don't know what way that matters, but that's all.
No, I think you're right. I mean, because I think we talked about how The Eraser is a much more hook-driven album than any recent Radiohead has been. And so I think that the melodies are a little easier to find. Because I think Radiohead kind of intentionally obfuscates melodies sometimes. where they're like, well, we don't want this to be too easy to sing along to, or tap your foot to. No, Dropped is a big highlight for me. So far, Default and Dropped, 2 big highlights. And the other 2 I also like just fine. But this one is cool. This is one that I could see going back to.
This is Dropped. This is not Ingenue. Or
no, Ingenue is the last one.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, okay.
Which I should say is also Ingenue is the is the single.
Yeah. Yes, as well as Default. I want to say.
Oh, okay. Because that
Default
makes because I was going to say to me it's weird.
Singles.
Default is not, but that makes sense then. And then that just fades out. I'm going to go to the next one. The next song on here is Unless.
Now, unless you have a problem with me saying so, Walker, this is my favorite track off of Atoms for Peace.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to talk about that unless you're joking.
No, but I mean, can we get to, let's see, it's 4 minutes, 40 seconds. Let's let the first 2 minutes, we could talk, but it's after the first 2 minutes kind of.
Well, this one's a real build, right? So it's
exactly.
Kind of synth loop, this kind of, and Tom just saying, I couldn't care less.
And this could absolutely, to me, this is where I was hearing this could be a Smile song with a distinctly different part coming up that would be played differently. But like I could picture Tom Skinner on the hi-hat. It's just that breathing synth that I think would somehow be a guitar part or something in the Smile.
Sure. Or what the Smile was doing a lot when we saw them live is there would be one kind of synth loop that Tom Skinner was also running.
Yeah.
So it just keeps building.
This might be one after the song ends that if we could pause for 1 to 2 minutes.
Sure.
Oh, dude. And I love the percussion in the background. We have 2 percussion tracks going.
This to me also would sound pretty at home on the Eraser.
Yes.
Until kind of a mid-song change in arrangement, which takes it more into Atoms for Peace territory. But so far, this is a Tom solo track. Until right there.
Mm-hmm. And listen to that bass cooking. So I don't mind actually talking over this part if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
This is my favorite song, just that techno. The reason why I love that so much, have I heard that in other songs, possibly from previous decades even, kind of 90s? Of course, that's not the most inventive thing. But what I love is that it has a Radiohead feel. We've talked about it a lot in like Street Spirit, like Spinning Plates, how they'll change kind of the undertone as they do a chord progression, or they'll change the bass note as they're going through a chord progression, but it sort of stays in the same pattern. If you translate that to a guitar, it really does that a lot. And so I love that you can hear traces of what Tom likes to do melodically. And I just think the build is great. And I was listening to this song on vinyl. I got this album on vinyl. And that's where I love this part too. And Kailani, listeners, my wife, Kailani Glenn, she's been a guest, walked into the room and she goes, "What is this? I love this." And I go, this is Atoms for Peace. And I already loved it too, but I just loved that. That was the moment where she's like, "What are you listening to?" And yeah, I think the song would feel very at home at the Eraser. it's driving. It makes me want to, like I talked about some of the best moment of King of Limbs. I harken back to how much they make me want to run, exercise too. This song has that for me, and I hear the bass doing a lot. I love it.
Well, the melodic build is really intense. Now, I didn't know you got this album on vinyl. Did you buy it recently?
Yeah, I just was able to get it.
This is the first album we have reviewed that I do not have on vinyl.
Oh, okay. I thought you had this one.
Nope. I think I will probably get it just for the sake of completion.
The artwork is so cool on this album.
Now, did they get Stanley Donwood for this one?
They sure did.
Oh, wow. They got him. That song is a mixed bag for me. I do think musically, well, I think it's really cool. It is really driving. I really like it. I think the lyrics are kind of like dumb and lazy, and it kind of bugs me. I think this might be my Jesse Rimler hating the raindrops moment. I'm like, whenever I listen to this and he's just saying I couldn't care less over and over, I'm kind of like, is this one done, Tom?
That feels like a 3-day jam where I'm just saying stuff to go with the music. I haven't picked out the lyrics yet.
Yeah, it feels like what Jeff Tweedy in that wonderful book that you loaned me, How to Write One Song, what he calls a mumble track. Which is cool. I love hearing that stuff when like the Beatles put out, a deluxe version of Revolver or whatever, and you get to hear like, you get to see them. I mean, because we have left no stone unturned with the Beatles. We've gotten to see a ton how nonsense is often the placeholder for what become these songs that we know and love. But I just wish that he had wrote more lyrics, because to me it feels lazy.
But
the lyrics are the least important thing for me out of all of this. I mean, it's super cool sounding. And I'm sure you saw, I was bobbing my bald head up and down. I mean, it's an undeniable groove, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah, I think objecting to the lyrics is like the main thing. I would agree, and have no notes. But real quick, actually, you mentioned the Beatles. The thing that I think is so spectacular about stuff they left on in the studio, particularly in Abbey Road. You were talking about Revolver, but in one of my favorite tracks, and this ties into the bass playing too. I was wanting to bring this up earlier. We can go to the next song if you want as well. She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, you know how it has the wonderful build from, I think Polythene Pam is the song before She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. How that's like a suite of that album. How it goes into the oh, look out, but there's a little bit that John says before that of it, on the album. It sounds like it says "ow, dow, dow, dow," but what he's saying is, okay, listen to that now. And then Paul says, oh, look out, it's She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. This is such a dumb deviation for me to just praise the Beatles, but I just love it. Yes, the Beatles are melodies and everything are ingrained in our consciousness, but I've been listening to Abbey Road a ton lately, and Sgt. Pepper, because I'm reading a biography about Paul McCartney right now. And I'm not even to that part in the book yet, but I was just, similarly to Radiohead, Abbey Road is just this apex of perfection where every singular noise that is made, either from an instrument or from their mouths or whatever, is so musical and rich. And that's one of those little tidbits that not a lot of people know. Maybe a lot of folks knew it, but I just love that it's John talking to the producer saying, oh, listen to that now. I like that noise. And then Paul comes in. Oh, look out. End of point, end of ramble. I just love it.
No, yeah, they use have you listened to the deluxe version with all the outtakes and like different? Yeah, and it's so awesome to hear them jamming other takes of these songs, but you're also like, yeah, you used the right take on the album, like, because like you said, just every note and noise lands.
Now, this is a little bit of a quieter one for me, but again, a one where I love the bass playing, and I brought up Abbey Road again, brought up Paul McCartney. I was listening to She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, same song, last night with over-the-ear headphones, and I've talked about Paul McCartney's bass playing. You've pointed out, I love this so much. that he does wonderful counter melodies. I hear a little bit of that in this album, which is not something I would normally point out about Flea's bass playing, is that it's understated but great counter melodies. I think in this song, the guitar playing is so John Frusciante sounding, which makes me wonder what sort of influence Flea pushes towards Tom York, or Tom York knows kind of what zone Flea works in. Because you kind of know what I'm saying? The way it's like just like a high pick.
Oh, yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that, Walker?
Zach, this is my favorite song on the album.
I love this song.
And this is the first recognizable guitar we've heard since the first track. I'm not saying there aren't other guitars, but this is guitar strings being strummed. And when it kicks in here in a second, we hear Tom playing in like kind of a Latin style. It's going to come right here. Well, it'll be up in a second. But
that bass though, dude. Oh.
Yeah, so the bass repeats on this loop, and this groove is really steady, so Tom is getting to jam over it. This is where you hear, I feel like, the jamminess. But I love what you're saying that right here.
Oh, yeah.
This is like Latin jazz, right?
Yeah.
And the reason this is my favorite song is I have never heard a Tom York song in his solo work or with Radiohead that is in this style. This is where I'm like, cool, this is why you do a side project with new musicians, because you're making something totally new here. This is not a Radiohead or a Tom groove at all.
No, and it makes me wonder.
Listen to that. Listen to that guitar playing. When does Tom play that high on the neck and on those strings? Never.
That's what I was trying to say about the Frusciante influence. Like, that's what's so cool about this being a side project, and that Flea, who's such a just a big musician. He's huge. His sounds, influence goes both directions, right? And so that's what I think is so cool. Maybe House of Cards is the only other Radiohead song where I've ever heard like, oh, that sounds like a John Frusciante type guitar sounds. Other people pointed that out too. Little scar tissue kind of. I can't tell if you think I'm crazy on that one.
No, not at all. Oh, no, sorry. No. I was listening, but I also just got lost in the groove.
Yeah, but that's what makes me wonder is like maybe Flea, who's not a guitar player, came up with the groove first, and Tom's like, and that's what's so cool is it kind of can make you understand maybe how the collaborative process works in like the Chili Peppers, for instance, or something like that.
Totally, dude. I mean, this is a funky song, and that's why it doesn't sound like Radiohead or Tom York solo. But it's a funky song that then Tom York plays and sings on, so it sounds Tom Yorky. And that's where it's like you throw a bunch of flavors up. And I mean, another thing in that Jeff Tweedy book that he talks about that I love is like start copying somebody.
Yes,
and I guarantee
that too.
you it's still going to come out. It's not going to come out like them. And
sure.
The ultimate example to that I know I have referenced on this podcast before
Dirty
is
Projectors.
That is a great example. Him doing the but is Prince. Purple Rain is Prince writing a country western song in the style of Hank Williams. Yeah. And does it sound like fucking Hank Williams? No, it sounds like Prince.
Right.
But you get that really unique flavor by him going, well, I'm going to synthesize this other thing that I'm into. And so this album, as much as I really like Default and Before Your Very Eyes, to me, Stuck Together Pieces and Dropped are kind of the only moments of really unique inspiration that feel like they kind of only exist in this project to me.
Sure. That's a really good point.
And that's again, just why this album is a little bit like maybe not something I will return to a lot throughout the years, just because I'm like, most of what is on it, I feel like I can go get from Radiohead or The Eraser, which I like more. But Dropped and Stuck Together Pieces are two things where I'm like, oh, this is the Tom York Flea band. And I'm sorry I keep giving short shrift to these other guys who also
that's okay. They're doing
were
fine.
Fully contributed. Yeah, but Joey Waronker and Mauro Rafosco, because I I don't know their names off the top of my head, and so that's why I keep.
Oh, and who's this other guy?
Nigel?
Nigel Godrich. No, Nigel Godrich. Okay, all right. Sorry.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Zach, I will also say I am at last at liberty to reveal that also represents the peak of this album to me, where in 100% of my listens, I get a little bored after this point. I'm going to start the next, but that doesn't mean that there aren't, out of the 3 tracks left, that there aren't any that I don't quite like, but it does start to blur a little bit here. This next one is Judge, Jury, and Executioner.
Yes. Stuck Together Pieces and Judge, Jury, and Executioner, not to be confused with Pulled Apart by Horses. Stuck Together Pieces, Pulled Apart by Horses. I wonder if Tom York wrote either of those songs.
Yeah, cut the kids in half. He's got a few obsessions. Now, Pulled Apart by Horses is also something that this band played at their live shows a lot. So that's really a track that has gone through many iterations because now it's a Smile song, too.
Walkman. Oh, that's the first time I've ever called you that on this show, and I think it's apropos that I did on sort of a digital album. Anyways, take a gander what song this reminds me of from The Eraser.
Cymbal Rush?
Skip Divided.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I get that.
Especially in the upcoming parts. See,
now
I
again,
this.
Very guitar here. You hear for the first time like an acoustic guitar. Zach, I dig this too. This, though, to me is one where I'm like, I want to hear the guitar and vocal melody more, and it's getting a little mucked up for me by the persistence of the percussion. It's a little bit relentless in a way that I'm not really appreciating. I'd like to hear less busy percussion, that kind of weird slidey bass line that Flea is doing, his voice in the acoustic guitar. That's a lot.
Do you like this
right
part where
there.
it cuts?
Yes.
Yeah, I dig what you're saying, Walker. I agree.
It's just too busy. But the song sounds cool to me, but I almost feel like I can't hear it for all the parts.
Well, yeah, it sounds like Nigel was Judge, Jury, and Executioner of this album. And that
I think Nigel's going a little nuts on this one, Zach. That's kind of my AHT, my Amok hot take.
We hired a producer. He had perfect references. Everything checked out. But at some point during the 2 years of mixing this album, well, he must have gotten a little bit of cabin fever. He ran amok and chopped up all the drums and the bass playing.
He put non-stop drums during every song. I don't know.
He drowned himself in a moon-shaped pool.
I just think that there's something about what probably makes Radiohead albums not as fun to make is this like kind of democratic process that everything is subject to that makes them better than anything that the lads do on their own, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've talked about that with Casey. I love the way we have talked about that before. I loved the way Casey put it. Casey Pegram on our episode always said, like, I think for Radiohead to be Radiohead, it's Tom plus Johnny plus the other guys. And he wasn't making an Ed joke or anything, but I think that is sort of it. It's hard for me to like rank the importance of the members after Tom plus Johnny. I want to say Colin because I think Colin's bass playing. I think Colin's one of the most underrated musicians like in the world. But then what Phil does. You talked about it in this very episode, and I agree. I mean, there's just that intangible piece that I know is generally a really big struggle. Kailani and I were talking about last night. She's like, who do you think butt heads in Radiohead? And I was like, I think Nigel, Tom, and Johnny butt heads. And it's not that I think that, Handsome Man jokes aside, that Ed is simply along for the ride, but in a non-humorous way. I literally do think that's what it is. And that's what I love about Ed. I think he knows how good Radiohead is. He's delighted to contribute. And I don't think that Colin is that way, because in that book that I just read, Life in a Glass House, it talks about how Colin Greenwood and Tom were the first founding members and have known each other the longest. And So anyway, I don't want to turn this episode into speculating about what the relationships of the members are like in the studio, but all of that to say, to your point, I think that it is probably a battle between Nigel, Tom, and Johnny, and Nigel's sort of there to be a mediator and to make decisions and all that. You said on our Eraser episode, one of the biggest challenges probably is turning Tom York songs into Radiohead songs, and I was like, oh my God, that's so well said, because his songs are so weird. But anyway, all that to say, like, I think that you kind of need the other members to whether it's discordant or challenging to make what we love, and not every album necessarily. But that was a little bit of a ramble. I apologize, but
no, I think that I think that that's a great point, and I think that Johnny's ear for composition is something that you hear absent in this.
Yeah.
And I think I've credited Nigel with that a lot, and obviously Nigel is like a brilliant in his ear for like edits and keeping them on track and kind of guiding them to like where the songs are and
dropping stuff in and out.
Dropping stuff in and like arrangement and all that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, but like the amount of kind of the lack of precision that I hear at moments on this album, where it's just kind of like, oh, we're just gonna like have the percussion up to 11 the whole time. That makes me be like, I wonder how much other members of Radiohead are kind of being critical and going, that's too much. And Johnny seems really key for that. But you know what, though? As much as we give Ed shit, I think he probably helps them find their commercial instincts again.
Yeah.
Because we know that he loves the rock and he loves guitar. And so he's probably somebody who's going, this needs more of a melody, or this needs a riff.
Right. Or like, that's just fun to fantasize about. That's why I want you to watch what I've been preaching to you for, and I know you will. You've been great. I think one of the things I love about our relationship is trading back and forth different suggestions. But that 8-part docuseries that I own, Soundbreaking, that Nigel features prominently on. He doesn't dive into when I made this album with Radiohead, but I want you to watch it too, because I think that again, you know, you're just it's not a perception, because I know that you've made albums, you know, and just have more experience in production than I do. But yeah, it's so interesting with Radiohead, because I don't think that Phil and Ed are along for the ride, but they are the quieter in a group of seemingly quiet individuals. So it's just really fun to kind of imagine that, because we know now the results are different when you don't have those members, obviously without their musicality and instrumentation, but also like you just said.
Let's go to the next song, which is called Reverse Running.
Which, why not just call it Walking Backwards?
Well, and speaking of walking backwards, this is probably the song that I have the least feelings about on the album, except that the same thing, I think this is a cool guitar riff that is kind of diminished by how relentless the percussion is.
This is an unfinished jam based on, like I said, I did listen to what I could find of Feel a Cuddy that's available. And also, you know, like I said, I spent about an hour and a half with his music. But this is one that feels like professional musicians working out a song. And it doesn't feel done. It's incredibly impressive, but it's
like a cool B-side.
It's not even a B-side, though. It's because, to me, well, it is a song, of course, because right there, Tom's voice is really crisp and beautiful. But yeah, just from a drum and bass perspective, I'm like, these are professionals. But it's not there yet, to me.
No, but when it changes, though, when the bass note changes, but the guitar riff is the same on that there, it doesn't mean any. I am like, this is melodically something that I am really into. I just think the arrangement is kind of annoying. Like, it feels like it's that.
Yeah, is that the part you're talking about? Oh, when he said factories.
Well, when it changes to that chorus, I mean, the riff reminds me of Black Swan.
Yeah.
I just think that it's like kind of trying to alienate me with the arrangement, and I don't think it needs to do right here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the bass note changes, but the guitar riff is the same, and it goes from being like dark to pretty there. I mean, I actually really like the melody, and I like the guitar part a lot. I just think that it's hard to kind of get into because I'm like tired of all this percussion at this point in the album.
Yeah, dude.
Do I just sound like a grouch who hates percussion? I don't know.
No, I want you to be confident.
I'm bored of this sound by this point.
I'll tell you on pod or off pod if you're being too grouchy. I want you to be confident when you're not loving something. It's okay. And
no, I just don't know how to say it more eloquently, I guess, is I'm not sure why I don't like it, but I know that by this point in the album, I am bored of this arrangement and this sound.
Well, there's a part coming up here. I think it's in this song. It's kind of the outro of it that gives me Feral, the fourth track from King of Limb Vibes that I hate. It's not happening right now, but I want to let it play because I thought
you hate part of it in this song, or do you hate Feral?
I think it's this song. It's like an outro coda section where it becomes just a boring. Maybe I can't remember. It might be in the next song because Anyway, let me table that point for a minute. But the bass playing in the song, I think invoking the Beatles is like invoking. It's like you can't fail invoking the Beatles because literally every great band, especially in this band here, I know Flea, along with Chris Cornell, they would steal Beatles records. It's like one of their earliest memories. It was stealing Beatles records so that they could listen to them. It's such an easy evocation, but we've talked about this. Reminds me of Feral, and I don't like it.
Yeah,
it's pointless. But I think the way Flea is playing in this song against a counter melody of the guitar, the way it's mixed is not Beatlesy at all. But I just want to say again, listeners, Paul McCartney and John Paul Jones, Colin Greenwood, and Flea at points on this album remind me so much of. I'm sorry. What they do so well is they create these wonderful counter melodies to where you really have to listen for it. But it's like, especially on Abbey Road and really all their albums, I'm like, this is like some of the greatest bass playing I've ever heard. But it's so subtle in the mix. And I think it's just cool that Flea is doing that. And like I said, invoking the Beatles is the easiest thing to do and sort of the most unoriginal in a way. That's all. That's my point.
No, I agree with it. I mean, I think this one is... We have slightly different quibbles with it, but I agree that it's not done because to me, this is just one that I'd just rather hear the band play this.
Sure.
Than I would prefer that than hearing Nigel sequence it. But again, that just might be like a subjective taste thing where it's just like live instrumentation is generally more exciting to me than electronic sequencing. Mm-hmm. But that's. I know that there's just as much merit to electronic music, and that's where it's like I feel foolish just complaining about a taste thing. They made the album they wanted to make.
Sure, but
they could have jammed this out. But
we're listening to the album that they wanted to make, and we're not being dismissive of it. And I think that there have been moments on The Eraser and on King of Limbs and Kid A and Amnesiac and this that we've really liked the electronic arrangement. Therefore, we're not being unintelligent or dismissive by critiquing some of those moments too.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I will say, this is one of those moments for me. This is the title track and the final track of the album. This is Amok. This is very, very evocative of The Eraser, in my opinion. And even though I said that I get kind of bored after Stuck Together Pieces, I really, really, really like this song. I think it's very deceptively pretty. Right now, you're just kind of hearing these looped noises, right? It's not necessarily super melodic, but this one really snuck up on me and grew on me over the last few weeks of listens, where this is kind of... Once Tom gets into the melody, you'll hear, and there's multiple vocal melodies that happen towards the end of this song that we'll listen to. But this is, to me, an example of what he does when he's firing on all cylinders. This is a beautiful song.
And I don't know what Eraser song it reminds me of, if it's either Harrow Downhill or And It Rained All Night, but it's one of those back half songs.
Yeah.
I mentioned Skip Divided earlier. I don't think it's that one, but it doesn't really matter. I just hear very Tom York, Nigel Godrich atmospheric noises that I hear a lot in the Eraser. And I agree with you. I think this is a great song. It does have this weird section that is like my favorite coming up here. Maybe this is the one that reminded me of Skip Divided a little bit. I mean, they're all by Tom York as far as the lyricist, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. But this one has some distinct eraserness to it.
You know what I think I particularly like about this one I'm hearing right now? I hadn't thought of this, but I think it's another reason why I really like Dropped. Is on some of these songs, I feel like the drums are not serving the song super well. That last one being an example. In this one, listen to what Flea is playing, and it is so locked in with this drum loop. Right? This is like Bonham, John Paul Jones level of just like, they are playing the same thing, and it's really satisfying. The drums and the bass are on the same groove. And I get that when they're not doing that, that's an intentional approach as well. But I just think with music that is so loop driven, I want it to kind of be synced up. That sounds a little more satisfying to me.
You mentioned, I agree, man. And you mentioned Bonham and JPJ. There's some really great footage on an era of Radiohead live that I know we both love from the Kid A Amnesiac era. And I just love watching the magical communication that is music in a group setting overall. And I love watching it. I mentioned it maybe every episode, that particular performance, if I might be wrong, on Jules Holland from 2001, because Colin and Phil are standing proximity-wise the closest to each other, and they are so locked in. Johnny's off to the side doing his own thing. Ed's off to the side doing his own thing. Tom's dead in the center. But Colin and Phil are being led orchestration, like an orchestra by Johnny, which is what is the coolest thing. And it's all, and this is all speculative, listeners. I'm not, I can't be in their minds. But there's a moment where Johnny walks over after the second chorus, and he just signals with a head bob to his older brother what to do. And they know what to do. They've all rehearsed this song, but it is, I just went on that rabbit trail from when the percussion is locked in. It's such a cool thing. That's an example of a song where we've seen that in Radiohead, which is maybe not something you see the most. But then to add that other member of, and I don't know, I just want to encourage listeners again to watch it and like try and watch it from like a psychological perspective. It is so cool to watch.
The nonverbal communication and like cohesion that is achieved in a band that is synced up is stunning to behold.
Yes.
Now this outro section is fucking awesome in my opinion.
This is what I was talking about. This lasts about 50 seconds. It's my favorite. To run amok. This is like the best part of the album to me.
And this weird distorted like high-pitched synth part has been like slowly amped back.
Yes, dude.
And that's, you know,
this is Nigel
bag
that I love.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's something in the production that we didn't really talk about. A lot of this album, the approach was also taken from Tom had discovered his love of DJing.
Yeah, every time I read that, it bums me out a little bit.
I mean, you know, I would love to watch Tom do a DJ set. I'm sure, no. Well, I mean, I think that you can hear from this album that, like, they know what they're doing. That's, like, what this is, right? Yes.
This
I just
is
don't
Nigel
and See, now I'm being sycophantic. No, I think it would be awesome. It's like if you're a Kiss fan and then like Paul Stanley starts doing those like god awful paintings that he does or whatever, but you have
no,
they're good. Yeah, he like paints these like giant like hearts and stuff. It's like really
no, thank you.
Yeah, it's very like 80s graphic design school stuff. But and I think it's Paul Stanley. I don't know, it's one of the boys from Kiss.
Sure.
But like, I mean, that is what this is, right? This is them going, okay, the samples that we have are from this jam session, and now we're building a DJ set out of those, and then Tom's singing over it.
So is that how they did it? Okay, that's what I couldn't understand, Walker, and you just cleared up for me. I didn't know if the jams included the vocals, but that's
I don't
what you're
think
saying.
So. I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, he might have been. I'm sure that during the 3 days that they were jamming, Tom was also recording vocal scratch tracks with some of these melodies.
But they would be scratch tracks, though.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I doubt that he was singing anything in these jams, but I don't know. That is speculation on my part, but I would be surprised if any first take vocals from those jams were used.
No, but this speaks to me not having ever been in a band, listeners. I can play some instruments, but I was trying to understand that when reading about it, and let's say you're right, Walker, because I think you are. That makes so much more sense to me now. Okay, I get it. That's all. Thank you. Walker, I had a really good time discussing this album with you. I loved that we didn't hone in on every single song. You had said, and not dismissively, that this might not be an album that you see yourself going back to kind of just listen to overall, were it not for this project. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And I would agree with that. There are, I would say, unlike The Eraser, which I think is a spectacular album. I think probably about half of these songs are ones that I would put, on a mix. And so forth. I don't have as big of a vinyl collection as you, so like a lot of the stuff that I do buy ends up getting listened to maybe more than I would otherwise, But I think that's a fair assessment. And the last little bit I want to close on is I want to invite listeners or recommend to listeners that they listen to John Frusciante, his solo work. It's mostly instrumental, but he has a amazing singing voice. And also Flea's autobiography, Acid for the Children, is one of the most touching autobiographies I've ever read. We talked about Art from the Artist in a couple episodes back, and I really enjoyed that conversation. It doesn't talk about massive mistakes he's made that require you to do so, but it is a very earnest book about a person that acknowledges their flaws, that it went through an immense period of drug abuse and alcohol abuse, and is very upfront about it. And I think it's just a wonderful example of somebody who isn't maybe a writer, but writes a really, really, really good book and acknowledges a lot of their mistakes and how they've tried to make those changes. It was really moving in that regard. It's a weird note to go out on, but that's all I have.
No, I love that. And I'd like to read that at some point because I have really enjoyed interviews with Flea. He's a great storyteller. I agree with everything you just said. I don't have a better summation of it. I will say that most of the things with Radiohead and Radiohead adjacent projects that we've discussed on this podcast, when I start out saying that I don't really like them, once I'm kind of listening to them with you, I'm like, this is actually pretty cool. So even though I started by saying I won't go back to this album, I honestly think I probably will dig out some of these songs as a treat every once in a while because it's nice to get it's like, oh, have I overplayed the Radiohead or Tom York stuff that I love and live and breathe on such a regular basis, but I want to get a little taste of that. And I am such a big fan of Flea's playing, but since I don't like the Chili Peppers, I don't get to engage with it a lot. So this might be kind of a nice, safe way for me to do that too. And yeah, I love what you're saying that if you enjoy this to, check out Frusciante's solo work. And what I will say is if you enjoy this album, I know we've mentioned them a few times, but a lot of our listeners are not Californians like we are. And if you live outside of California, you might not have heard of this little Southern California band called the Red Hot Chili Peppers that Flea is actually in. And I would encourage listeners to check that out. They sing a lot just about what it is kind of like to live out here.
And by the way, sorry.
Oh, I told you. What does he say? By the way, I told you.
By the way, I tried to say I'd be there waiting for. Well, and also too, just to cut you off, I've not mentioned yet that I also like this other band called the Mars Volta. And their debut album, D Lost in the Comatorium, Flea plays bass on the entire album, and it is some of the most amazing bass playing I've ever heard.
And Zach is very on the record about how much he loves the Mars Volta a lot. I don't know if I have said I am not as big of a fan of them as Zach is. And by that, I just mean that I have not listened to as much of their music as Zach has. Yeah. But that first album is perfect, in my opinion. I love it. And I also love their second album, Francis the Mute. Beyond that, I really don't know a lot of their music. I just haven't kept up with it. But I agree that if you want to get a nice little dose of Flea without engaging with the peps, without Kiedis in there singing made-up Chinese, ruining your everything, then listen to that Mars Volta album. And also,
that is a tough moment of ding, 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 dong, ding, ding, dong. I'm like, what the fuck?
That did not age well 5 minutes after he did the take.
I know.
Like that, I cannot believe that they were like, yeah, print it. Put that out there. I guess that's a good note to go out on. Also, if you want to check out more of Tom York's projects, he's in a band called Radiohead that I recommend also listening to. And The Smile. He's got a lot of bands. He's in 4 bands: Tom York, Radiohead, The Smile, and Atoms for Peace. Check out any of those projects wherever music is sold. Zach, this has been so fun. Listeners, we will be back next week with a very exciting episode. Covering a big one in the Radiohead canon next week, I believe, right? Is that safe to say?
Yeah.
And we'll see what other kind of manic emails or Yelp reviews from our past we can bring up in the future. With that, I have been your host, Walker Glenn.
I'm Zach Glenn.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Idiotalk is a Glenn Brothers production. Get in touch with us at idiotalk.podcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at idiotalk.podcast. Thanks for listening to